everyone, welcome back to today's episode of the Hyla Home. Here we talk about motherhood, natural living, and homemaking, which includes renovating our 1940s home. Today I want to share with you my tips for curating your Pinterest wardrobe, but in a capsule wardrobe sort of way. So I'm going to be talking to you about what styles to look for when you're going through your Pinterest board, how to recreate outfits from your feed, but then also how to keep it minimal so that you're not just overloading and overwhelming your closet with a ton of different pieces. So pull up your Pinterest boards and let's get into it. So to start off, I want to talk about curating your style because I feel like the hardest part about your Pinterest wardrobe is even getting there. Like, how on earth are you going to take these inspiration pictures and figure out outfits to wear? So for years I struggled with this and I found myself just kind of absorbed with pinning onto my Pinterest board. I titled it wardrobe and I just look at all these beautiful curated outfits and I felt like I had no clothes to wear. I felt like that for years, pretty much all the way since the beginning of high school, all the way through till up until recently. And I just didn't really know what my style was. I felt like I had a mixture of maybe casual and laid back, but then also more ethereal and feminine. And one time there was this post that somebody made. They said, please share your Pinterest wardrobe board and I'm going to describe it. And they shared it to their stories. So I sent a picture of mine and she captioned it romantic, cozy, and feminine. And I was like, that is my style. And after I had that, I felt like I could go from there. So the first thing I want you to do is when you look at your wardrobe board, what are words, and I don't want them to be more than 3 words, that you would use to describe your board? Is it cozy? Is it romantic? Is it feminine? What's going on there? And then let's move on from there. And so once you can kind of put a name to your aesthetic, I feel like that helps miles in deciding where to go from there. So obviously then the next thing is, how on earth are you going to, now that you can describe it, going to apply that to your life? And something I want you to look at is take a look at your Pinterest board. Something I noticed with mine was everything matched. The pins didn't look cluttered or clashing, and it's not like they were all curated specifically to look good together, but all together they did look great. They didn't clash, the colors were complementary, the patterns looked great together, and then it hit me. My wardrobe clashes. When I look into my wardrobe, I see there's a ton of grays and blacks and stripes and all these different patterns that don't even match and don't even look good on me. And yet when I go to my Pinterest board, everything is very curated and all looks the same and has the same sort of aesthetic, and it's not cluttered. So obviously there's a disconnect there because I'm not trying to curate a specific aesthetic in my Pinterest board. I'm just pinning what I like, but in my wardrobe there is this clash and I feel like I have nothing to wear. So take a look at your board and I want you to look up 3 things in your Pinterest board. What patterns are you going for? Are you going for gems and plaids and stripes? Or is it soft, flowy, feminine vibes and florals and fruits, like maybe little cherries all over the bodice, or embroidery and lace and trim and all these little delicate details? What is it that you see pattern wise? Is there a lot of one thing or another thing? Do you go for a lot of solids? All of these things I want you to kind of jot down and look at, and maybe even put this in a list if you're not good at mental lists, and so that you can see on paper what it is you typically gravitate towards. So kind of identify then specifically what your pattern is, and is there any consistency across the board? So like in a lot of things I'll notice is people who like florals, there's a range and a spectrum. So like some people like the grandma florals and they love, the pinks and the oranges and the reds and all of that fun stuff. They like florals that have leaves in them. And then some people like more muted florals that almost don't look like florals. They almost just look like a delicate pattern from a distance. It's not like super clear that it's a floral. When you go towards stripes, are you doing like very contrasting stripes where it's like a dark blue and a bright white? Or are your stripes more of like a dark charcoal gray next to a tan and the pattern's a little bit more muted? So on top of figuring out what your pattern is, what's deeper than that? Like what contrasts are in your patterns? How big are your patterns? Do you like big giant plaids that are like this big, or do you like the tiny little gam pattern where from a distance it looks like a solid color. Figuring out what patterns you like, what is the consistency with those patterns, and the size and the shape and whether how they're spaced apart. All of that is stuff I want you to write down. So first you're gonna write down what your pattern typically is. If it's stripes, you're gonna do stripes. Every major pattern that you see on your Pinterest board, and it could be abstract, it could be like squares and patchwork, whatever it is, write it down. And then under that, what are the specific attributes that you continuously pin that fit into that demographic? So for me, I like the florals, but I'm not a super floral feminine. So like, I like a basic little floral here and there, especially when it's earth tones or very muted, but I don't really like the big florals. So once you have a general idea of the different patterns that you are curating, you're now gonna look at the colors. So this is the next big thing I want you to look at when you're taking a glance at your Pinterest board. So colors. Are you curating a lot of blues or greens? Or maybe you're a pastel girly and you like the pinks and the purples and the light blues and the minty greens. Maybe you like that lime green and that bright aquamarine blue, or like the yellows. I don't know, all the fun textures. Maybe you're more like of a 70s hippie vibe. Whatever the colors are, now look beyond that, because that's really gonna affect the pattern. Because if you have, say, a ditzy floral, but you're a loud girl and you like the yellows and the oranges, well, maybe you want kind of a brighter floral on your white background, and that's gonna look way different than, say, like a cream dress with a brown floral. These are the things you're kind of gonna integrate when you're looking at all these stuff. So like I said, you're gonna look at your colors and write down 5 colors that you continuously pin, and they could be overarching colors. They don't need to be like chartreuse. It just needs to be like blue, green, whatever. You know, write down 5 of those. And so for me, I would say brown, blue, white, green, definitely green, if you can't tell, and tan. So those are the colors I gravitate towards. I don't like pinks, I don't like oranges, I don't like yellows. It just doesn't look good with my skin. And I don't really do a lot of mauve-y purplish colors either, although I have some. So like for me, those are my 5 colors. Well, within that, now you're gonna go deeper. You like more of a dusty blue, or do you like the like bright sky blue? Well, what about that green? Is that like a deep dark green? Is it very rich and saturated, or is it very muted and more like a foresty color? And then like your browns, are those very rich? I love a rich dark chocolatey brown, but some people like a more gray earthy tone. So just figuring out, because now what you're gonna do is, once you have the patterns down and once you have your colors down, you're starting to get things that all match one another. Because the thing is, likely what's going to happen is these colors are going to be complementary, and then once you get patterns to match it, now you're going to start getting some outfit ideas. So figure out your colors. So want to write your 5 basics down and then write attributes of those. Are they dusty? Are they bright? I want you to say, are they saturated? And are they dusty or not dusty? Then last thing we're going to look at is fit. What fits? What fits do you like? And this is actually going to go kind of into textures too, because I feel like the textures of clothing affect the fit. So like for me, love linens. This is linen. Almost everything I own is linen or cotton or wool. I love that flowy, super casual kind of boho-y feel. Some people really like the way rayon lays on them. It has more of a silky vibe, but it's not as clingy, so it kind of like just floats. It's very floaty. So just look at the fits that you have. Do you like a cinched waist? Do you have more of a flowy open look? Do you typically choose things that have big poofy sleeves, or is your sleeves always capped or sleeveless or long sleeve or tight sleeve? Do you have a V-neck? Do you have a round neck? Do you have square neck? All of these things. And this is going to get a little bit more complicated, because fit, I feel like, is the hardest for people to get. We can get color down, we can get pattern down, but fit, that's gonna take some time figuring out what even complements your body type. Something I do want to point out is like a lot of these Pinterest pins is a lot of the girls on there are kind of thin, you know, they don't have a lot up top, they don't have big hips, or maybe they're super curvy. I don't know, but it's sometimes hard to really know what the fit looks like. Something I'll do is like, for example, if I see a A-line skirt with a girl wearing super blousey, flowy blouse up top, and say she's like this thin around, I'll think, okay, if I want to recreate that look, I know my body type is very different than hers. But what could I do that would create that look? Well, I can continue with the A-line skirt because that's going to fit us pretty much the same. But the blouse, where she has it very blousy and flowy up top, well, if I get that same top, I'm just going to kind of look like a big triangle. So maybe I'll go with a more fitted top, and even though mine is more fitted, because she's smaller up top, it's going to have the same effect. So the blouse is actually going to look similar as long as it has some of the same detailing. So that's something to look for too, is like, okay, the body types that I'm saving these pictures of, are they similar to mine? And if they're not, what things do I need to accentuate or take away from that will kind of recreate that look? And I'm not saying that one body type is better than the other. I'm just, let's be honest, like, we know that there isn't a whole lot of diversity when it comes to body types and sharing inspiration. So I'm just, if you like the way something looks on someone, take in consideration that there are going to be some differences and make some accommodations for that. Not that you have to, I'm just trying to help. So that's something I'll do. And so fit is going to be a hard thing to work with. I just recently found out, through trial and error mostly, that round neck shirts, dresses, all of the above really don't look great on me. And that I actually look better with V-necks or square necks. It took years for me to figure that out. I also realized that, you know, the collared button-down shirts, the more 1940s vibe, also doesn't really look good on me, even though that was the majority of my wardrobe for years. So just a lot of this next step is going to be trial and error. So what I recommend is find some shirts or dresses that you already own. You're going to want to make sure they kind of have different necklines. So like maybe V-neck, square neck, whatever you have, just take the different necklines and put them on and look at yourself in the mirror and go, okay, do I prefer this one over this one? Do I like this over this? And then once you realize what you like on yourself, then take a look back at your Pinterest board and see if they're the same. If they're not, something you might want to try to do is find the neckline that you keep pinning on an outfit that you like. So say that you go through your wardrobe and you realize, I really like V-necks, but you're pinning a lot of round neckline things in your Pinterest board. Do two things. Take a look. See, do the people that you're pinning, do they have the same body type of you as you? If they don't, maybe you would like that dress better on yourself with a V-neck. Could be the only modification. Everything else can be the same. It doesn't have to be 100% the same as the pin. But then the flip side of that is maybe you just haven't found the perfect round neckline dress. Maybe you need to try it in a size that actually fits you. So there's a couple of different things with that, you know, you might need to try. So once you figure out patterns you like, color you like, and the fit you like, now you're going to go forth and find your wardrobe. And you are going to want to get items that only fit within those categories. So obviously solid counts as a pattern. You're not necessarily going to only get things that have patterns, but you have a pattern you like and it fits well, but the colors are off, you don't want to thrift it. And I would say more importantly is making sure the pattern and size is correct. You can kind of fudge color, but I found that even with a dress I really liked the fit of and I really liked the pattern of, the color eventually got to me. So honestly, if you're trying to go for that capsule wardrobe, I just say wait and get items that fit specifically in those three categories altogether. They need to fit well, they have a good color that is in the color palette that you've chosen for yourself, and it needs to be a pattern that you like. So now we know what to look for. Now the overwhelming thing is there are so many options out there. Where do you stop? And this is where the kind of capsule wardrobe-y part comes. So if you take a look at my board, I have lots of white blouses pinned, tons of them. I love a white blouse with pants. I love them with wool skirts. I love them with linen skirts. I love them underdresses, overdresses. I like a good white blouse. Now, I could try and curate all of the white blouses that I've pinned, like this one and this one and this one, but wouldn't it be wiser or more advantageous to me if I'm trying to get a capsule wardrobe if I just got one white blouse that actually could work for all of those different inspirations? So that's what we're gonna do if we're gonna go for this capsule wardrobe thing. And so what I recommend is kind of doing what I do. I have a long sleeve white blouse, a short sleeve white blouse that actually needs replaced because it's falling apart. It has holes, a white cropped sweater, and I'm looking to buy a white tank top. Now for me personally, something you can see in common with all of these white blouses is they have a lot of detailing. They have a lot of pleats, they have a lot of embroidery, especially around the neckline. And so what I'm going to be looking for is either high round necklines or V-necks or square necks that are embroidered, that are lacy, or that have some sort of detailing on them, because I want to recreate these outfit inspirations, but with pieces that can go for multiple different things. So that's one place you can start. If you are more of like, I like my statement piece to be the top, I like to have the different blouses that are different patterns and different shapes and whatever, well then maybe you only need one skirt. Maybe you can get a full A-line dark colored skirt that can go with all of the different patterns and textures, but it can be a good winter piece and a good summer piece. So just looking at that, like which pieces can you use for multiple things, that's where you're going to get the capsule wardrobe. So what basics can you do that with? So obviously cardigans. Cardigans, you really don't need your cardigan to be your statement piece. You can use a brown cardigan that looks a little bit different in this pin and a little bit different in this pin, and it can be the same cardigan in your wardrobe, but at least then you're able to still curate those outfits. So cardigans are something you can afford to have just one of in one color or style. Blouses, obviously, if you're not a big statement blouse person. Skirts, if maybe you just want a basic skirt. For some people that can even be like the pinafore dresses, because you can wear those just as a sleeveless dress or over something. It's gonna kind of be different for everybody. Like for me, it's shoes. Like I have one pair of shoes that I wear all the time. I have like work shoes and running shoes, and that's literally just Crocs. But like my shoes that I wear for church to running to Walmart, like that range, it's the same pair of shoes. It's just slip-on clogs, and I wear them everywhere. So like obviously for me, they're neutral enough and versatile enough that they can go with literally everything. Even in the winter, I just wear socks with them. Like seriously, one pair of shoes. So things like that, like what can you do? Belts. You don't need 1,000 belts. You really only need one good belt, maybe two, maybe a thin one and a wide one. That's all you need, and then you have a million different outfits as long as it's neutral enough. And I think that's where we get really confused, is because with the Pinterest you can have so many like super detailed specific pieces that only go with one type of outfit. And so what you're gonna want to do is thrift things that fit for that outfit, but then can be used for so many other outfit inspirations on your Pinterest board itself. That's where we're gonna start. And I really recommend buying secondhand. You can buy things on Macaria, you can buy things on Poshmark, you can buy things on eBay, you can go to your local thrift stores. Local thrift stores, I feel like, don't get enough attention anymore because you have all these online retailers. You can get great things. Like you can get so much from a Goodwill or from a Salvation Army or something like that. And the great thing is you can try it, and if it doesn't work for you, just redonate it, because at least the investment is so much lower than it would have been if you went and bought that brand new. And obviously it's going to take some trial and error. This isn't a fix all of your problems and create your perfect wardrobe video. I'm not going to do all of that, so if you thought that was going to happen, I'm sorry to disappoint. But it is hopefully to give you some insight so that you can start somewhere. Well, I hope that was helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I really enjoyed talking about this. Actually filmed this before, but it was all over the universe. Nobody would have been able to follow that video, so redid it. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a great day. Bye.